expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. These preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shali. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
We have been attacked. We are at war. The free world is counting on us for leadership. For 241 years, our democracy has been a shining example to the world of what we can all aspire to. And we owe it to the brave people who have fought and died to protect this great nation and save democracy. And we owe it to our future generations to continue the fight.
So there's Morgan Freeman working for Rob Reiner in league with longtime war enthusiasts in Washington like David Frum and Max Boot telling us we're at war. So when does the bombing start exactly? We sat down with Rob Reiner to ask him that question. Watch. So we're at war. How would you respond if President Trump took you seriously and sent the B-52s to St. Petersburg or blockaded the Gulf of Finland? How would you support that?
No. Well, when we say we're at war, we're talking about a cyber war.
It doesn't make that clear. It just says we're Morgan Freeman, who everyone trusts, his voice, evokes immediate trust in everyone. We're at war. So, but you don't really believe we're at war. Why are you saying it then?
Well, because if you watch the entire video, it talks about cyber warfare. It talks about how he was able to use, the internet and cyber tools to attack the democracy, which is what they did.
But shouldn't you say somewhere in there, we're not really at war? I mean, we're just kind of taking creative license. We're just trying to get you all pumped up. But it's not really war. Like, we shouldn't respond as you would as if you were in a war. Why not just say that so you don't confuse people?
Well, I'd say if you watch the whole video,
I did.
You wouldn't be confused about it. I mean, the thing that I've always felt is that, people don't really understand the capacity for cyber warfare beyond the obvious stuff of, hacking into people's computers or using the internet. Facebook, we now find out, that they were using Facebook to push out certain kind of propaganda. Propaganda has been around forever. I mean, from Leni Riefenstahl on. So we've had plenty of propaganda.
Oh, I've noticed.
Right. But the point is that beyond the propaganda, there are other aspects to cyber warfare that have been used. We've used it. The Russians have used it. And we have to make people aware of the capacity of this cyber warfare beyond sowing distrust and confusion in democratic society.
Right. I mean, a couple of things. First, you've allied yourself with people like Max Boot and David Frum, who have long advocated for real wars, hot wars. Both of them were big advocates of the war in Iraq, predicated on the idea that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. I think you made a movie actually on that subject that's coming out later this month, taking the other side. But are you a little bit concerned you've wound up linked to people who are advocating and have over decades a series of actual wars where people die? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, we have people from on all sides. I mean, there's Norm Ornstein. We have James Clapper, who is the director of national intelligence. And there are many supporters. Norman Lear is a supporter. We have liberals and hawks and doves, as you say, on both sides. So we're not advocating going to war or going to a traditional war with Russia. But we are already in a cyber war with them. And if people want to turn their heads away from that, it's at their own peril. The point I'd like to make, and this is really important for people to understand, because this really doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump. Trust me, because Donald Trump, whatever happens to him is going to happen to him. I mean, there are already investigations. Mueller's going to find what he finds. The House and Senate have their own investigations. They'll find whatever they find. But beyond that, we've been invaded in a certain way. And the thing that has been so upsetting to me, and I don't know how old you are, Tucker, but, I can remember when I had to hide under a desk during the Cold War in the 50s because we were worried that we were going to get attacked, by a nuclear bomb. And whenever the country has been attacked in one way or another, whether it was Pearl Harbor or 9/11, we've always come together as a country to defend ourselves against foreign enemies, and this is the first time, because I think we're so divided as a country, and we know we are.
Well, but maybe here's part of the reason. Here's maybe part of the reason, because perhaps this is, I agree with you, we are very divided, and maybe this is one of the reasons. A lot of this is deeply disingenuous. Anyone who looks at cyber warfare will tell you, any honest person will say, the Chinese military is the primary culprit in the United States, hacked into the White House not that long ago, into the computer system there, into almost every federal agency. Nobody said anything. You guys in Hollywood sell your movies in China. You bow to the imperatives of their propaganda and censorship office. You change your movies to suit them. And yet no one says we're at war with China. And I wonder why. So you're sucking up to this regime that has actually broken in and stolen industrial and military secrets that hurt this country. You say nothing until Hillary Clinton loses, and all of a sudden we're at war with Russia. Can you see why some of us are saying, well, wait a second, Rob Reiner, where were you with China? Why are you selling your movies over there? Fair question?
I'm not giving China a free pass here.
Oh, of course you are. Well, you guys in Hollywood sell your movies there, and you allow their censorship office to change your movies in order to make money.
Yeah,
so
I don't personally do that because
come on, everybody who sells a movie in China does that. You know that. I mean, let's stop. You know what I mean? Kind of BSing a little bit. I mean, that's real, right?
Yeah, but here's the difference. The difference, Tucker, is that the Chinese have done some stuff. We've done stuff. We've done stuff way worse too. And every side.
So you
does
can't really judge, but we're going to judge Russia because why? Okay, but I'm just saying, it just doesn't make sense.
Not letting me make a point here.
Go ahead.
You're not really. We know about Stuxnet. We know the capacity for cyber warfare. It's not just about hacking into computers and stealing information. It's about using that information and weaponizing it in some way. Now, you can weaponize it in propaganda, which it has been done in this way, or it can be actually weaponized in a physical way to disrupt power plants, water supplies, and so on.
Right.
The Russians have done that in the Ukraine. Like I say, Stuxnet, we did that in Iran. This is not a surprise. The point is, we're now at this point where we have to understand the capacity here so that we can put in place the kinds of measures we need
very quickly.
to defend ourselves and protect ourselves.
You didn't. I agree with everything you just said. I let you explain.
I love that you agreed with that.
You didn't answer my question, which
is... What was the question?
The question is, if China is a bigger violator in the United States than Russia, and I think everyone agrees that it is, why are they not in your movie?
Well, but China has not insinuated themselves directly into our democratic process, into our election.
Are you being serious? Of course they have. I mean, they've stolen information directly from the U.S. government, from our political figures, from the Pentagon, from CIA, from the White House. If they're not in our political system, then I don't understand what the definition is.
I didn't say that they weren't in the political system. Of course they are. What I'm saying is they didn't utilize that material to try to affect an election in some way.
I get it. Okay, so you can see why maybe some of us are a little bit skeptical. Maybe you're not selling as many movies in Russia as you are in China. Anyway, whatever. Good luck with David Frum and Max Boot. Good to see you, Rob. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
This week on Cold Reality Radio. Hurricane Nate blows Biloxi off of the ground into the air, and we hope everybody's okay down there. Of course, this global warming, this climate change is the culprit. The media gives Trump the most negative presidential coverage in 25 years. Longest war in U.S. history turned 16 today. Thousands dead, no end in sight, and it's getting worse. Syria says Erdogan is afraid of entering Idlib. Several people injured after car mounts pavement outside London's National History Museum. But it's not been deemed a terror attack, because everybody in government and media gets to determine what is and what is not terror. I guarantee you somebody was terrorized by it. UNLV professor blames Las Vegas massacre on Trump. The Vegas shooting makes it clear more surveillance is not the answer. Apple gave Uber iPhone backdoor, allowing covert screens and data access. Revealed U.S. tested carcinogenic chemicals on unknowing Canadian civilians during the Cold War. And of course, Golden Boy Elon Musk says he can power Puerto Rico with batteries. Economic slowdown confirmed. The U.S. economy lost jobs last month for the first time in 7 years. U.S. approves possible $15 billion sale of THAAD missiles to Saudi Arabia. Russia also selling weapons of mass destruction to the tune of $3 billion. Vegas shooter investigators are puzzled. They believe he was not alone for two reasons. A spike in airborne radioactivity detected in Europe. Source located in southern Urals. J.P. Morgan. Century plus of banking. Says Chase paid its billions in fines for mortgage fraud by committing billions in mortgage fraud. So every time you're card gets hacked, they make money. And then some. 2009 to 2015, the U.S. had a lower annual death rate from mass shootings than Norway, France, Finland, and Belgium. 9/11 gave us the Patriot Act. With the Patriot Act, after Vegas, get ready for the USA Liberty Act. Get ready for what takes place post-tragedy, because never let a good crisis go to waste. Las Vegas killer Paddock took multiple trips to the Middle East and Europe. That and more on today's edition of Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. I am the Shali Lama. I'll be the host here for the next hour and 45 minutes. At 10:30, we'll be joined by my friend and critical thinker. And, you know, if I had a think tank, this guy would be in that tank. He would be in the think tank along with Clint, along with many, many others, people that understand the system, that understand how it operates, what it's done in the past, what it's doing today, what it did most likely last Sunday night on the west coast of Nightmarica. And we're going to talk to him today about something very, very, it's a very powerful topic. The patriarchy, we continue to hear about this patriarchy that's taking over. They divide and conquer men and women. Gloria Steinem got the ball rolling with her feminist movement and her work with groups tied to the Central Intelligence Agency to create this gender divide and conquer. And, of course, that gender divide and conquer rolls into wage disparity and many, many other things, the rape culture and other things that have been really, really looked at critically by people. You know, you've got your Stefan Molyneux out there. You've got your Brendan O'Neill, very an incredible speaker, orator, this guy, Brendan O'Neill. I suggest that you find him on YouTube and listen to a lot of his speeches that he gets. I think he spoke at Oxford, and he really let him have it there, whereas only maybe like 20%, maybe 30% of the people in the crowd at that ceremony clap, because the other 70-80% are completely brainwashed into a fake reality, so that they could be used as weapons against those who can actually think and actually understand. They have a level of discernment that, thank God there's a group of people out there that can actually think, that actually has discernment and can understand that the system is nothing but divide and conquer, nothing but a who can we get to attack each other, and how do we do it? And they know how. Trust me, they know how. A lot of the things that are happening around the world, all of the cataclysmic events that have happened in Africa, they're always stirred up by past events. And of course, these events that were stirred up and had this massive emotional, mental effect on the people there. They always, the manipulators always have a way of bringing up those things like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was awful what they did to us. And then they stir the pot, and next thing you know, those same people are killing each other years later. And of course, you have to look at the leadership over there. That same leadership met with Obama a number of years ago at the White House, and these people are brutal. These people are absolutely brutal. Okay, and they are most likely, they're like Obama here. And of course Trump now too gets put in place to make it look like there's checks and balances here. And I think that's one of the most important things as I was driving yesterday. The thing that we see here with the left-right paradigm is that they try to make it look like there's checks and balances when there are really none at the top. There's checks and balances for people like me, people like Greg, people like Clint, Jules, the commoners. And then there's different roles at the top. They can get away with incredible crimes, but then they get to also decide what is illegal and what isn't illegal. Okay, look at what Hillary got away with and continues to get. And I mean, Comey, oh yeah, well, it was kind of unfortunate what happened there and what she did, but blah blah blah. Nobody's going to prosecute. Nobody's pressing charges. It's just amazing how it just continues and continues, where there are no rules for that 1% to the 0.01%. There are no rules for them. So in order to distract from that, in order to distract from the fact that, that J.P. Morgan paid billions in, fraud, whereas they should have been shut the fuck down, they get away with it. They make billions on the fraud. So the money that they pay in legal fees for what they've done to people. You got Wells Fargo, who created those 2 million 2 million accounts, those bullshit accounts. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous that we are fighting with each other about who's in that fucking White House when these people are robbing us fucking blind collectively. You fucking sissies. You fucking sissies. Cowards. That's what most Americans are. Fucking cowards. Fucking cowards. And we're sitting here arguing over just ridiculous bullshit when they are robbing us fucking blind in every sense, in every aspect of our lives. We've been robbed blind by this fucking system, by their wars, by their fucking banking institutions, their corporate fucking personhood that gets them and allows them all of the spoils and all of the gifts while we sit and struggle. Some people, obviously more so, but we sit and struggle and wonder what our future is going to be, if there's going to be enough resources there for us to be able to retire, or if there's going to be jobs for people, getting out of school, robbed by these universities, robbed by these fucking student loans. and knowing that eventually it's all going to bottom out. People have defaulted on these, and it will continue to default. And then that'll be another fucking crisis that they created. Another crisis that they created. But we're focused on Russia. Rob Reiner's focused on Russia. And absolute, I mean, fucking Tucker Carlson just fucking ripped his asshole wide open. He is an absolute bag of fucking garbage. Who gives a fuck whether Norman Lear cares about whether we were hacked by Russia? We were hacked, like he said, by China in unbelievable ways. But yet, there's no video that was made when that happened. When that cyber war was declared, or was it? It's all fucking bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. And we're going to talk today about the patriarchy and how the whole system is there and controlled by men. But let's not leave out the woman's role in this. And the woman's role throughout history. And Greg is going to talk about that today when I pull him in here in about 3 minutes. So, the shooting last Sunday evening. You've got Robert David Steele talking in terms of that he does not even believe that it was... He does not believe any of it. He does not believe any of it. I went to see him in Philadelphia. Now, he could be an operative, too. So I'm not giving a whole lot of, I'm not throwing all my chips onto Robert David Steele's table. But he is, it seems like he's trying to do things. The unrig, hashtag unrig, UNRIG. He has been working with Cynthia McKinney. He's been working with a number of people. So, you have to kind of look at it and say, are these people trying to make America a better place? They're still looking at America as, this is a collective thing and that we are the people when we're not. So of course I didn't have enough time to bring that to the table. But see, you can't even mention that this is a lopsided system where your property, and that's why they take your money. They do everything to you. The testing in U.S. code that you can be tested and poked and prodded, and that's what all these drugs are. That's what all these pharmaceutical drugs that are killing and poisoning people. And of course, we find out that Paddock was on Valium. Now, I remember people taking Valium, people that I know taking Valium for a number of years. And I don't remember them getting all fucking psycho, getting all fucking nutty. Okay. My guess is that all of these antidepressants, even if they were helpful at one point, okay, which if it's not natural, if it's not by nature, then it shouldn't be put. You shouldn't put it in your body. But we've been told that pharmaceutical drugs are good, and cocaine and heroin and marijuana and all these other drugs are bad, right? They're bad. So you make your fake drug war, and the organizations and the corporations that should be attacked and reduced to nothing and to have no influence are these pharmaceutical companies, Merck and all these other ones. Even if it means the whole fucking system collapses, which is going to happen anyway. And of course, they're going to get more power, and then they're going to be the next ones to create the vaccine that sterilizes the entire fucking world. So they get what they want, ultimately. They don't want us making more of ourselves. I know that's very hard for people to understand. The childlike thumbsucker society that has been created. It's actually just so shameful. It's so fucking shameful that people give away whatever power they have every day collectively. And it's sad, it's shameful, and it's an embarrassment, really. It's an absolute fucking embarrassment to your creator. Okay? And he wasn't a fucking ape. You didn't evolve from a fucking ape either. So, do you think you did? Go fuck yourself. I think I'm going to change the name of this show to, Hey, you thumbsuckers, go fuck yourselves. Sick and tired of it. Not holding back anymore. Going to reach out to right here in a second. See what. So a lot of things that just aren't adding up as usual with one of these events. Things just not adding up, but you don't want to say this or that. I guess it's okay to say if somebody else, right, is saying at the level of an ex-CIA who apparently ran a lot of these drills and exercises. But that's not going to be the focus of today. Okay, but it's just going to be like I'm calling bullshit on it. If people died, people died. Okay, horrible. Okay, this guy didn't work alone. He was working with other people. He was on fucking drugs that make people fucking go fucking loopy. Okay, this guy had money. He had fucking everything that he fucking ever needed to live out the rest of his life wherever he wanted to in this world. But he decided to do this fucking bullshit. Bull fucking shit. And if you believe that he did this all by himself and all that, go fuck yourself. Hey. Still dialing up. Dialing up. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, let me pull your volume up here.
Okay.
Testing.
Testing.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds good. I just want to see if I can bring it up. See if I can get over to it's always, sound levels are always an issue because, I'm bad at what I do.
I'm using a microphone, so.
Yeah, I've got this Audio Technica thing, and so let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can kind of cut the low cut, so I don't want to overpower my guest's voice. That's my main concern. I want your information to be, I want your voice to bring us this.
I got a wimpy voice, huh? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've got to lower my manly, bassy voice. So that. And plus, I got this, as I said, I got this Audio Technica mic that I see like everybody has, and it's like, wow, I bought a mic that is too powerful. So I want to make sure that I can.
Very soon, I'll be investing in a higher quality microphone and setup. So
no
I need to do.
Sounds fine.
Hey,
okay, so welcome back to Cold Reality. The most prestigious platform there's ever been.
The most prestigious platform on the internet.
They're even talking about it on the TV. They're like, have you heard this Cold Reality? Not. But anyway.
You do a great show, so don't worry about it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was speaking to Clint the other day, and he was like, yeah, I heard you like either last week or the week before. He said you were really kind of going off. He said, it was good. It was, Clint likes he likes to get that ran out, that like 10, 15 minute thing where he just kind of, it's like an exhaust route for him. So all the things that have been just grinding his gears, it seems, and to my recollection, I did that for like 2 hours straight.
Get out the fire and ire, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So
Time to break out the sword.
Break out the sword. That's right.
The spear of truth.
The spear. Our spear of destiny.
The tip of the spear.
So I was driving last Sunday to this health seminar thing that I do with this group, and I called Greg, and Greg's always thinking. He's always, like I said, if I had a think tank, or if we ever create a think tank, I know Greg's going to be on that. Like they have, the CFR and all these. Who are those other ones? All these different, all these think tanks, and they're all basically there to. I don't know. Maybe some of them are better than others. Some of them are not nefarious, but you've got all these different so-called think tanks. I'll see if I can pull them up. I can't think of them right now, but they're out there, and they're, you'll see it every now and then, from this group or that. And so one day we're going to have we already kind of do have a think tank, but it's just.
I think we have to call it. We think we have to call it a fishbowl.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Shali fishbowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just things come at you. I've been thinking a lot about this whole, particularly the rise of, I don't want to call it a movement because it's not. It's really, I think it's just part of the natural state of man, that when you look at what our problems are, and it actually was Clint that got me thinking about this a while back, regarding the natural law in the Bible. And in stating that, it's like, what does the Bible tell us is the original, really is the original sin? Now, how did Judaism come about? How did all of this get started? And it got started because men and women are so different. And if you look at Judaism, it's based on three women. It's based on Lilith, Eve, and Edith. And the whole concept behind the sacred feminine is actually, that's a complete farce. I think it's in the women's nature to destroy, because if they see that men have become weak within a society where they lust, become thirsty beta males, and fall over themselves and fall for the various whims that women perpetuate on men with ease, I think it's within their nature to destroy those men. And when you look at our society today, you look at all the validation that men have given women over the years, particularly in recent times, the rise of social media, that this is just part of nature kicking in, and it breaks down to the natural law. So it's not a nefarious group. It's cats and dogs living together. It's always been that problem. It's the first original, and it's never been resolved, and it's going to continue to plague mankind. And I think it's probably God's way of creating a self-destruct mechanism so that we don't cause a massive overpopulation problem on the planet. So, that's like a thumbnail of the whole thing. Then it breaks down into a whole bunch of other things, like where we are today and why we got there. And you start to see where, that when you could reasonably identify the masculine from the feminine, then it all becomes so. To me, it's just like, wow, I never realized that these were, these are feminine traits and these are masculine traits, right? Because they're always, media, the way we're raised, because a lot of it has to do with just simply the way we're raised. I grew up in a time where, my father went out and worked, my mother stayed at home, my father had a great deal of respect, married until my mother passed away. Very, very few of my friends came from families. Everybody's mom was home. We got off to school. We were always playing golf together. Dozens of kids on the blocks, the street that I grew up in, we all played together. and all of our parents knew each other. They were friends too. So, and that's not the way things are today. They keep feminizing. They keep feminizing, let's say, like the workplace, and you see like things that have happened recently with the Experian breach. Where 150 million credit files were released, and that was because the corporations have become so feminized. They have to hire women for positions that they don't even come close to meeting the qualifications. So they hired a woman who's a music major to head up the security, Equifax, and she had no idea what she was doing, and she left trapdoors open, not understanding, how hackers work and like this, because they had to hire a woman for the position. And look what's going on today, like in the NFL. This is what? Wear pink month?
What is that again?
In the NFL. This is wear pink month in the NFL. Right. How they have so feminized the game, and it is basically ripped it apart. They've destroyed it. Ratings are down like 30% in this year.
Right.
Oh, what we're seeing is we don't. I think it's just a natural cycle. We could just sit back and watch, because what's happened, it's gotten so bad that men have realized that they've had enough, and they're not going to play the game, and so on their own and through this thing called the internet, YouTube, these channels have been created, and it become extremely popular, and it's the fastest growing, let's call it, philosophy in the country. And I think that's a natural reaction to the overcoming world, which is a natural reaction to be men. So, but men cannot get a hold and take this system back and control until after we go through this, we'll just call it period of construction. It's just going to be, in my opinion, because most men out there today are still very, they're simps, they're pucks, they lord over women thirsty, they allow themselves to be manipulated and controlled by them. Personal lives, professional lives, all for the approval of women. And think about it, if you were a woman, about for all the women that listen, men are so easy to manipulate. That can't be attractive. I think that by nature, because women have a very distinct nature, just as we do, men. And part of that is they seek out the alpha. They want strong men surrounding them. And what do they see? They see a sea of weakness. The meek have surely inherited the earth. Like Clint was talking about on his show last week. The flood doesn't, the flood with Noah's Ark is not necessarily a flood of water. It could have been a flood of ideology. It could have been a flood of just male weakness that overtook the planet, that everything had to be swept away. And I think we're going through that same cycle right now. But Christ was a MGTOW. He basically said, do not, basically stay to your own. Don't play these games. Don't feminize your life.
Right.
And if you do that, you won't see the whole system, our entire monetary system, our system of control. You start to identify the feminine and masculine, you realize, wow, our monetary system is based on creating something from nothing, right? That's alchemy. What is alchemy? Alchemy is the feminine. Anything that tries to drive power by siphoning that power from the weak, siphoning the power from the strong, is a feminine trait. Because women are naturally smaller and weaker than men, so the only way they can control them is by manipulating them. It's a brilliant job. Okay? So, you look at our monetary system, it's entirely different. What's a masculine system? A masculine system is one where, fair exchange, be like fair labor, equal benefit of exchange, goods and services. These are masculine traits. I do something for you, you do something for me. Whether it's, you give me a bushel of apples and I give you bushels of tomatoes, whatever it is that we deem to be a fair exchange between each other, that's completely massive. But what do we do now? We exchange goods and services today for nothing in the exchange of these paper notes on feminine.
Right.
We have to get back to masculine. It's, they keep saying that we live in this patriarchal world, and I'm sorry, it's not. It's quite the opposite. It's completely a matriarchal society.
Which makes sense that they would, go 180 degrees in the other direction.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something else. I have also come to the realization that I can't criticize the Catholic Church anymore. Because when let's call them the founding fathers of the Catholic Church, putting their philosophy together, what was happening at that time? Rome was being torn apart by what's tearing us apart today. Difference, the feminine versus the masculine. Rome had been completely feminized. Everything from their money to their Senate, all of their rules, everything started becoming so gynocentric. Roman, even though the Roman army remained strong, the army itself was torn apart by all the just the bad nature of women soldiers. So the country was being torn apart from within, and they're not the first. They saw that pattern, many, many times over and over again. It seems like men build society. We do the heavy lifting. We build the road. We build the industry. Women are not physically capable. So men do all of the infrastructure building. Once a society reaches a certain point, then women use they kept their power to use the home, right? Which still controlled everything, but now they start to project, and once they start to project themselves, society start taking over institutions. You look how they're taking over institutions here. At that point, things start to break down. But I believe women have a nature, okay? And the Catholics believe, if you listen to a couple of his discussions.
Yeah, your voice is kind of breaking up a bit.
Is it? Sorry, my cheap microphone. I apologize.
No worries.
Better?
Yeah, I want to make sure that they hear what you're saying, so I might be like, hey, can you repeat that or something? So okay. All right.
No, I was saying I was listening to a discussion that E. Michael Jones was having, and he was talking similar about this and how with the church being greater than the effects of feminism today and what it's had now the church. I'd love to have a deep discussion with him now, especially with my new way of thinking about things. I personally believe the church was created because they wanted to create a philosophy, a religion, a system. Because women require systems, require structure. If you leave women to the natural law, they will follow the same course as Eve, as Lilith, as Edith, and they will destroy everything. And men have always known this. So the religions were set up for the Christianity, or let's call it Catholicism. That's the leader of the pack was set up originally to control women, then in turn control men, and that they could bring a period of prosperity to man, because these cycles where women rise and take over societies and destroy them, they run in every 70 to 150 years. They could never get past that. So look what's happened with the Catholic Church had 1,000 years, almost 1,000, where they controlled the nature of women. We grew technologically, we grew our populations, we advanced in so many ways. And look at what's happening now. No longer advancing, we are regressing. Everything now, women are rising and demanding this gynocentrism to the forefront of everything. Everything has to involve them. Everything has to be about you. And the only way that we can't stop this. Now they have taken over all of the institutions. They've taken over, right? Nobody does anything in politics unless they consult with a woman first.
What was that?
I said no one does anything in politics or even the media unless they consult with a woman first. Is that clear?
Yeah. It's I was sitting here and I was listening to the other day to this Brendan O'Neill, and he's over in the UK, and as I said, he spoke at Oxford, and he says that we have to have this free speech. We have to have the right to offend each other, because if we offend each other, then there's progress, right? Mm-hmm. So it only makes sense that if you think about it, he said, why? All right, so why are they not allowing us to offend each other? It only makes sense that they want to kill progress. They want everybody to be on opposite, so polarized, so on the opposite of understanding and awareness, with the divide and conquer against men and women, gender equality, things like that we don't move forward.
Of course, because we are now, the West has become a society of weak men. Right? Like I said earlier, the nature of women, the nature of feminine is to destroy weak men. So the reason why they get away with making these demands, the reason why they're told not to shut up and sit down, mind their business, and go sit in a corner somewhere and mind your own business, is because men are too weak to tell them. And they know this. So they'll continue to batter and berate and demand to be heard, when really they have not earned the right to be heard. So this cannot be stopped. This was something that was, when the Catholic Church was formed, it really, like you were saying, it created a period where women, the nature of women to dominate and control men, was kept at least somewhat in check. And it created a long period, 1,000 years, where we didn't go through these cycles. Right? But they were never, ever, not for one moment, the feminine philosophy of feminism was feminism, which is, if you're talking about Judaism, because Judaism is a completely feminine religion. Their philosophy is based on three women. Their motto is they win wars through deception, which is a completely female philosophy. Are the weak for taking the strong. Yeah. So they use manipulation by offering they offer prosperity to their altitude, which is another feminine. And in exchange, they actually take the wealth from the men, they control and take it over. But they have no idea, because they're feminine, they can't survive without the masculine. So they destroy themselves. I
think the main things, one of the main reasons why, in our society today, is that we cannot. Everything is so expensive. Everything has been transformed into, or marriage has been transformed into people getting married to be able to afford to live a specific lifestyle.
Oh, it's always been like that.
Yeah, I mean, like back in the day, you could, a guy could go and work, and they could have like 2-3 kids, and the wife would tend to the house, would tend to the kids, and then and that was.
What the worst, the really good part of it was is that a man could raise a family. Let's say he's got 4 kids, right? 2 sons, 2 daughters. 50 years ago, you knew that as a man in that position, probably understood that they have 90% chance that their daughters are going to grow up, meaning they're not going to be wars. They're not going to have a mile of dicks run through them by the time they're 20 years old. Right? That they're going to be somewhat pure. That they will, get married, have children of their own, and they will reasonably be able to carry on the family name, crest of farms. There still was some semblance that bear arms to the children that you have. You cannot have arms just on it. And that's exactly what the feminine, or what the feminine, how the feminine practices to go after the blood. You look at it today. Men today have, well, first of all, they're not having kids. They have girls. A man reasonably today say to himself that there's a 90% chance that Yeah, I mean, look at it honestly. The chances that your daughter is not going to be a whore are probably less than 5%. And I think that's being very generous.
And we look at the structure. We look at the culture. We look at this diseased culture that we live in. Hollywood is a fucking disease. We listened to Rob Reiner in the beginning of the program where he, I don't know if you heard the beginning, but
yeah, I did. I was listening to that.
So, I mean, we live in this diseased culture where just a small example of how, oh yeah, China did all of these awful things. I didn't see you guys doing that, but now because Hillary lost and now you guys are going after Russia. But we live in such a diseased culture with disinformation constantly. The news is just.
Let me stop you right there, because if you've been paying attention to what's going on in Russia, which actually is pretty darn good, Russia is completely turning their backs entirely on the feminine, turning the masculine around. They have made it feminism now. Putin just signed a law over there outlawing, or it's illegal for feminist organizations to form or protest or whatever. Like the pussy riots that were going on over there.
Right.
They don't put up with that stuff anymore. Now everything, they're turning their society away from the West because they don't have to do anything. We are on the path of destruction. You don't think Putin knows that 98% of American women are whores? And I'm sorry, I mean, for girls, they don't get it. Every time you have sex with a man, you absorb his DNA. And those little sperm cells don't just go after your eggs. They go after your brain. Okay? So whether you get it on your skin or I'm trying to make a show about sex here, but the exchange of bodily fluids of a man onto a woman's body or into a woman's body, it's proven now. They've actually done autopsies.
And I was telling you when we were talking, I said I saw an article like this just within the last 3 to 4 months of you bringing that to my attention, and I had seen it. I'm like, yeah, I totally.
And it also validates that the Bible is the law, because what does the Bible say that about a man and a woman coming together in union, that they become one flesh? A woman absorbs the DNA of a man into her body. Actually, the sperm get into her blood, go through her blood cell, and lodge themselves into the brain cell, and intertwine the DNA of the man into the woman. Okay? Yeah. So, when a woman has multiple sex partners, it actually messes with a woman's brain, and that's why years ago, when there were whorehouse and brothels around, they were considered the crazies. Why are so many women behave so badly? Because they've absorbed the DNA of too many men. You're only supposed to absorb the DNA of one man. Sorry, ladies. And women and men, though we are, because our biological system says we're supposed to go out and date with as many women as we can, we're also supposed to understand that we're not supposed to defile. Okay?
Right.
And too many men have made it, and I've been guilty of this myself. You know, this is part of my, you know, my growth and thinking like, wow, I was wrong about all that stuff. That, you know, you go out and you chase women and you realize you're just as wrong for doing that as they are for allowing themselves to be defiled by men. And then all of it being promoted by the culture today. Why was it promoted by the culture? It was promoted to destroy men, not build up women.
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, you know, like as I said any number of times, my dad was, my dad would say, this is, watching this show or that show is just immoral, and he was right. And I didn't see it until like years later, until the destruction and the slippery slope down into just nothingness, immoral behavior. And we're seeing that more so today. Hollywood is degenerate. The people that run it are degenerates. They have no connection to anything spiritual, but yet they benefit monetarily in so many different ways. But people think, hey, this is
okay.
Cool.
I agree.
Hey.
Well, we in talking, it's obviously I look at something as, okay, let's identify the real problem. Let's go right to the base. Let's not miss the target. Let's not be it at half an inch to the left or a half an inch to the right. You got to try to really get to it. You got to hit the bullseye. All right.
Sure.
Everybody is close to that, but this is really it. Bible has told us this. It's what all the problems that all the world is based on. Like I said, it really just comes down to one thing. The media does what they do, but it is us that allows them to do it. Not in the terms of protesting the fact that people watch it. So how do we get people to stop watching? Remember, like we talked about, the only way that we can fix the problem is for people to become Christ-like. When you explain that to people or share that with people, they look at you like you got three eyes, that you're crazy, and it'll never happen. It will never happen. But not realizing what Christ was. Christ was what he came about, and whether he's an allegory or he was real. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you for certain. But the Bible is a book of allegories. So let's just say it was a philosophy or a philosophy that began to overtake the world because of the feminization of every society, every trading point. The monetary system, just like we have today. They didn't have TV, but everything was being, there were brothels on every corner. Women were, sexual liberation was rampant amongst young women. Fathers could raise honorable daughters. Their sons were relegated to weakness. And if you were building a society, you can't sustain that society with those type of people, with that type of mindset. The only thing that you can do is destroy it. But Christ comes along and says, you can just say no. Just do your own thing, not go out and defile other people and defile the law, the natural law. Live by the natural law, but you don't need to be feminine. Right? You don't have to kowtow for the sake of feminine. And that, they destroyed him over. And you look at that today. Who do they go after? Who are they trying to stop? Trying to stop anybody who promotes.
Anybody who what?
Anyone who promotes the masculine. Okay? You're allowed to. You can get on a soapbox and you can complain about anything you want, so long as it's based on the feminine. And when you look at everything, whether it's racism, talk about like media, politics, all these are all feminine ideologies more than anything else. I don't want to even call them philosophies because they're not full ideology.
Yeah, I mean it's very complicated, but it's obviously making a lot of sense that they can, and of course they twist it around. They go 180. They go 180 degrees from the real information, the real reality of how the world operates, what makes people tick, what they can be drawn to and or drawn away from.
And if you look at today, now we have this MGTOW philosophy that's becoming more and more popular. More and more men are starting to go, oh my God, the switch is going off in their minds finally, because they've been divorce raped. They are being accused of sexual battery and crimes rampant by women, falsely charged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You have to have safe zones, right? You have to have free speech zones. These are all feminine, right? You can't talk honestly. You can't, stand somebody up for the things they do because you might offend them. That's feminine. So we have been relegated as men to second and third class citizens. And so men are starting to finally figure it out. Look at every movie. Everything is based on the feminine. It's out of control. So men are saying enough. And so men are not going to colleges, because all the benefits go to the female students. Even job placements, when women are placed in jobs and careers twice the rate men are on graduation, I think it's beyond that. I might be wrong about something. I have heard that you're twice as likely if you're a student graduating from college, let's say with any degree, by a corporation, to be hired by a corporation, a woman, than you are to graduate from a man. Same. Make sense? Say that right?
Repeat that.
Okay, you are twice as likely to be hired by a corporation. Let's say you graduate college with an engineering degree. Woman with an engineering degree is twice as likely to be hired by a corporation from a man with the same. I don't think anybody can deny that.
Well, I mean, and some people would say, oh, they probably would hire them because they can pay them less. That would be one.
That is so funny, isn't it?
And that is the direction that it would go in when it has very little to do with that.
Little to do with it. It's just completely false.
Right.
This whole wage gap thing is just. I mean, that's just. I think that's also
shameful. It's just shameful when you hear people. When you hear
it's so sophomoric and stupid even for people to repeat that nonsense. Because I always say, well, show me the ad, show me the advert for any position. Okay, from a headhunter, or I don't even know, Monster.com still around, or a newspaper clipping where you have a job opening and there are two pay scales, one for women, one for men, and one for men. Show me that any where that exists. Nobody. It's a man and a woman with the same skill set. If you can find a woman with the same skill set, because let's be honest, don't have the same skill set. Their brains are different. They have more white matter. We have more gray matter. Okay, white matter means that they're motion based. Gray matter means you're more logic, reason. So we are far more able to absorb and can internalize, facts, figures, statistics. We are more analytical. We analyze problems, more problem solvers. Women, though some women who are born with testosterone do it, it's not the norm, the exception. So Men are far better because we're bigger, stronger. We have a higher intellect. This nature. And so, yeah, men should be. Years ago, they understood that. And that's when. But, of course, after society is built, women are rise up and complain about it, say that they're being held back, that they were, victims of sexism. Because part of the feminine ideology is everything you have to be a victim, right? Women are victims because they're smaller, so naturally, they're weaker and stronger physically. So therefore, men, because they're bigger and stronger, have to dominate and control them and blah blah blah. When that's never been the case, because men are slaves. They volunteer themselves to a lifetime of service.
It appears to be so.
Right. And when you look at the institutions and how they were able to turn us, they just took the feminine, which is men are so easily manipulated by women. You can control women, you can control men. That's where the whole model is going. You see what I'm saying? Where it's like everything breaks down to this masculine. And getting back to the Catholic Church and where it's been and why I don't criticize the Church much anymore. I think they lost it. The Catholic Church, the Vatican II, with the rise of the Protestant movement, the Protestant movement, right, the Martin Luthers, and Calvary movement, these were feminine that was interjecting itself, trying to break way for the specific domination control of men, the feminine. Where the church, what was the precepts of the Catholic Church? Men had to remain celibate. Priests had to take an oath of celibacy. So all the priests had to be made that. And that was the only way by not, and I understand it more, by not allowing the feminine to corrupt their bodies and their minds. That's what the feminine does. Masculine. Dispersion, corruption. If people don't think that, they don't want to accept it, but that's exactly the case. It is about being dominated by remaining pure and abstaining from only through that sacrifice actually be truly enlightened and could lead other people. So what the church do, right? It lost that. It lost it. People from within, their mission was to people that were corrupted by this. Their mission was to destroy it. Anything that's masculine, anything. We talk about the NFL. Anything that favors men, something that men like to do and enjoy. Can you think of anything out there that women are not trying to inject themselves into and try to dominate?
Right.
I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you look at sports, right? We have to have the WNBA today, really? It's a loss leader for the NBA. Why did they do it? Because they have to be able to project to the screaming women out there that they care about their issues, so they're going to give them a women's best. Barely draws, it makes no money. Nobody cares. Because who wants to see a bunch of average athletic ability? Sure, right? They may be athletically talented women, but they're not even a fraction of the athletic ability.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a lot of women that are watching that either.
No, they're not, because women are not sports-centric. I mean, that's a masculine trait. There aren't men watching sports. Women don't care. The only reason why men or women get into sports is because it's something men want to do. And instinctually, anything that men like, women want to do so that they can dominate and control the men.
Repeat that.
Anything that men enjoy, okay, that they find pleasure in enjoying, that is a masculine activity. Well, sports, camping, fishing, reading, hunting, any of these things that men have always liked to enjoy. Women will never cease attempting to filtrate those, take them over, so that they can dominate and control.
Makes sense.
So that's where we are. So thinking in terms of solution, the only solution is to become Christ-like. The only real genuine way to become Christ-like is to be happy. So if men want to save themselves, want to save their sons, their daughters, you want to stop the media with control. You want to stop politicians, stop campuses, stop all this stuff. Then men have to disconnect, realize they are, and stop worshiping feminism, and start to build their masculinity, build the sacred masculinity within themselves. All right, and with that, women recognize that, and they will change, and everything will start to get better. It actually start building, start producing, right? Look at this whole concept of exporting our jobs. These people, they blame liberalism, they blame Democrats, they blame this. No, I blame feminine. Not feminism per se, it is the worship of the sacred feminine, the adoption, domination of feminine over the system, always based on something from nothing.
Right. Something. It's better to be no thing than something.
Well, I mean, if you...
That's what I heard that from Clint about a year or two ago, and I was like, makes total sense in that.
But can you really make something from no thing? Look at the very creation. It's the initial question of, is God real? Well, yeah, of course God's real. Why? It's very easy to prove. Because you cannot make something from nothing. Somebody has to create something first.
Yeah. Well, they have to start with something, right?
But somebody has to make something. Remember, everything is, you cannot create something from nothing. But what is the feminine? The feminine is all about, and has been since Lilith, all right, which was Adam's first one. It has gone bad for men ever since then. Right?
Yeah.
We are a slave. We are a slave to pussy. Basically, that's what it is. So we learn not to be. Why was Adam destroyed? Why did he not listen? God gave him perfect life. That all you have to do is just don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Right? What happens? Well, Eve gets corrupted by the snake. Eve is a little creature, right? Then Adam, because now he's a slave to her and wants to make her happy, he partakes in it too, and they violate it. We've been on this ever since. Cats and dogs, man. Cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs.
So we have to know thyself. We have to find ourselves. The way That's how, and it's actually happening more and more. It's not just a fringe thing anymore. The MGTOW is being discussed now openly in major. There was a article about it. It's being discussed in the major media channels,
right?
Because they know it's the biggest threat to the feminine system that's been created. If men just simply stopped allowing themselves, stop being simps, stop being cucks, stop being thirsty for women, stop validating them, enabling them, their bad behavior and their bad nature, and they simply withdrew and said, "No, I'm not going to participate in your, in this system. I'm going to live for me. I'm going to pursue the masculine. I'm not going to pursue the feminine anymore." That would shut down the auto industry, housing, retail, okay, the diamond, the monetary, everything that comes to the street. MGTOW poses the biggest threat to this entire thing that we complain about than anything. It is the Christ-like solution to the problem. And I've thought a lot about that. And I've said, because you're never going to convince people to be Christ-like, right? But you can look at young men today, and you see most of them come from broken families. Many of them have been raised by single mothers and understand that this whole feminine thing is completely out of control. They've been victimized by it. They've been accused of, they've been accused of patriarchy. They've been accused, let's say, sexual battery, rape. We live in the rape culture, right? I mean, really? They really try to pull that we live in a rape culture today?
These fucking universities, man.
It just scratch your head, really. When men have always lauded themselves over women in their pursuit of women, that they kowtow to them to such an extent. The only reason why they're able to get away with it, men are unable to have. We don't tell them to shut up. We don't laugh them off and ridicule them and shame them for behaving godly. We say, "Oh, I guess you might be right." So we validate their lies and allow them to bring it forward and simply just, intolerant because weak men think that's what they have to do in order to get pussy. And it's such a joke.
Well, it's a blueprint.
Yeah.
It is a blueprint, and
when you recognize it finally, and you realize that it is such a problem for the system. The people that run the system, they want to keep the system going. They're not out to destroy it. Everything they're doing, including shooting last week, you have to realize they do these things to keep the system going. Because they have to continue to create something from nothing, right?
Right.
Did you hear on the news? That on Tuesday the Senate passed the new budget, right? Or the House of Representatives, approved the new budget. It has to go to the Senate.
I heard something, yeah.
Well, but a $4.3 trillion budget. And that because of Las Vegas, that budget was increased for additional security spending.
Mm-hmm.
You also know that Michael Chertoff and some other people that are heavily involved in providing in the security industry, particularly body stingers at airports, have interest in that hotel where the shooting took place, that own the floors, lease the floors.
Yeah. Yeah, Steele said that. That said that Chertoff and
Shali. So and that they tried this whole lone gunman thing. And yeah, I talked with a friend of mine who is ex-military, and he could identify. He was like, "Oh, they're using they're
using what?
That they were using a 5.75 automatic rifle. I think that's what he called it. He usually weapon it's not me, but he could, by the sound, he could identify what weapon they were using, and they had a way of turning up the fire ability, like how many rounds it shoots off per minute. Mm-hmm. And he calculated. He told me, yeah, you can hear the multiple rounds. He also said something very interesting. Like if it was these guns, you could put silencers and muzzles on. Now, if you wanted to create the most amount of terror in a large concert, you break the window out, you start firing down. If you put a silencer on that weapon, nobody can hear it. People are just dropping like flies and nobody can know what's going on. You kill 1,000. So why would you limit yourself to only shooting, say, 200? You want people to hear the gunfire, right? Mm-hmm. You want to create the terror. Well, that's not what crazy lone gunmen do. They want to, if they want to shoot up a crowd of people, they want to maximize the amount of people they can kill. Right? That's what this guy's function. But so it's a joke. This is they created a patsy. For all we know, they enticed him to this hotel room. Guns were over there, set him up with patsy, and killed him. Hope that one gunman story reflect. They would quickly say, "Oh my God, this is such a 50 people died," which 1,000 people should have died. The guy was actually dead.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I mean, it just. I mean, I saw one woman that apparently was shot in the eye. Mm-hmm. Came home.
He would have had a silencer on that weapon, and he would have been able to fire literally for 2 minutes before anybody figured out where the bullets were coming.
A silencer on a weapon like that?
Yeah, they have muzzles for those weapons.
Well, they tried to say. I think they tried to say that even if you put a silencer on it, it's still very loud. They say that the silencer is there to protect the ears of the person shooting, not so much to silence the.
Oh, it deadens the sound quite a bit. You could still hear it, but you would not. And that's another thing too. They wanted them to be heard. You're at a concert. Concerts are very loud, right? Mm-hmm. They're very loud. I don't know. I mean, I haven't been to any concerts where you would hear rat-tat-tat-tat-tat over music.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, they wanted to make sure people heard the rat-tat-tat going on. So, the decibel levels of the speakers, I don't know, because you probably wouldn't be able to hear that. Sitting in an outdoor concert.
So, Tuesday or Wednesday, when they were passing this budget through, they added so much more for security. As a result
and then who's going to get it? These are going to be no bid contracts, of course, right? These are going to be Chertoff's company. These are going to be all these other, people with, just wash your feet over again. So they wouldn't be able to get it through or be able to appropriate the money for it unless they created a crisis, problem reaction solution, right? So this is what they tried to get away with, and if they got to kill a few commoners to get it done, well, then, hey, so what? Doesn't matter. We don't even know who we are, so we're all a bunch of feminized idiots, so why not kill us off? Or die anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even Steele was saying, he said, I didn't see pools of blood. He said, I pulled off any number of these different, false flag type scenarios. And he said, I didn't see anything. He said, I saw people standing, groups of people standing, and then other people running. And then there was also this thing on Vigilant something, this one blog, and it was called Crowds on Demand. And there was an article in the paper saying, are you looking, and it was all these different PR stunts, this, that, Do you need, or like we need people, and we'll pay you a certain amount of money to just become part of a crowd? I mean, how easy is that, right? Hey, just come over here, stand here with a drink in your hand, and we'll pay you to do that. And they're like, all right, I can do that, right?
Well, with our economy the way it is today, it's easy to find people, right? We're again, it's
the
very
advertising one now.
Very feminine thing.
Yep. So,
You know,
but and you say this in a crowd of people. What we're saying now, they just, it has to be real for them. The drama, the thing, it has to be real. It's like, no, but I saw this, and it's like, well, you also, think you're fat when you need to eat a fucking party hoagie like every 5 minutes of the day.
Right.
So
that's why
what's real and what's not.
And why you post like pictures of yourself bending over and put them on Facebook and Snapchat, Instagram, and your whole life is basically a series of validations. God forbid you're not validated, and if you don't go along with the story, then you'll be ridiculed and you won't be validated.
If you get negative feedback, then that's not validation. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You don't like what I posted on the internet? It's like, not everybody.
What do you mean you disagree with me? I'm smart and stuff. What are you talking about? Right? You have to agree with me. You have to agree we live in a rape culture. You have to agree that a lone gunman broke a window out of the hotel and rained bullets down on a concert. People doesn't make sense.
Today still believe that Oswald was the only guy. And when he shot Kennedy went back into the left.
Yeah.
They still believe that. And mostly because they don't want to be ridiculed.
Which is feminine.
And that's what I say. I don't like, and somebody said to me, well, why do you say that? Why do you say that? It says, I say it because I don't give a fuck what you think of me.
You say it because you're not afraid to yield your sword of truth. Your tip of the spear.
My confidence is building every word you say.
Right, exactly. I will behead you with my sword of truth.
Right. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your opinion is. Everything that you've been taught in these fucking things called schools are lies and disinformation. You cling on it. You cling to your belief system like if you don't, you'll die. Well, I don't care what your belief system is. I don't care what you fucking think of me. Drop fucking dead. I'll say whatever the fuck I want to say, even if it doesn't go along with what you fucking believe. Mm-hmm. That's why, that's like the novel version. But I say, well, I just don't care what you think. I don't care what people think of me. You're nothing. You're nothing. Your opinion of me means nothing because you are nothing.
Again, like we said, right? It goes back to alchemy. They have to create. They try to create opinions from nothing.
Yep.
Something from nothing. They have to create ideologies and opinions based on bullshit, on false stories.
Right.
They stage things and present them as real, and people fall for it. But critical thinking is becoming more and more popular. They're not getting away with it. I don't see them getting away with it because I see it even in the mainstream media now. Like CBS News is even talking about possible accomplices in the Vegas shooting.
Oh yeah,
he was not alone. It's not a lone gunman, and that's simply because people were basically on social media and others saying bullshit. The men are starting to find themselves and are becoming less feminine, and they're willing to sway. They're willing to swing that sort of truth around, and they don't care who said they lost in the process, because in the arena of ideas, if you don't swing your sword, it's your head that's going to get cut.
Yeah. And it's so bizarre because I'm sitting in here and I look at a lot of the articles on Blacklisted News, and you see Russia, Saudi Arabia signing billions in energy deal during historic King Salman visit. So the royal family there went to visit Russia, and it's like, they got this BRICS thing going, right? You're familiar with what BRICS is, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yep. What is it?
Economics, God, man.
Brazil, Russia, India. What is it? What is C is what? China. Thank you. And then of course South Africa.
A place. What it really means is just it's a clearing system to clear transactions. The West uses what's called the SWIFT system. And it's just the transfer of funds to conduct international trade. And so they want to be able to conduct trade outside of U.S. dollars.
Yeah.
And they know that the West is about, or will eventually, at some point here, it's going to collapse. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I think if we could go MGTOW, the West will not.
I think we should go Russia town.
Russia's going MGTOW. That's why they're not going to collapse. They are basically what they're doing is the feminine is being put in the back seat. The feminine does not have control. The masculine controls the feminine.
Well, it just seems very, very odd to me that I'm reading through some of these stories here, and I'm seeing that Russia is working with Syria to be able to clear out some of these areas that are, the jihadis are apparently are still trying to fight for what's ever left of them. And then it says that the U.S. somehow they got some coordinates and then fed them to someone, and then one of the Russian generals was killed. And it says in the article that Russia has warned the U.S. any number of different times to stop fighting with the enemy. Stop fighting against us. You're fraud. But what do you not hear on RT, which I watch updates every day? You don't hear them saying the U.S. has been given, stop. You don't hear that. So we see stories here, and that even RT, which, I'm not gullible, okay, they're not putting out this information that is very, very critical. I mean, we're, for all intent and purpose, we are already in World War III, if not economically, but now because we're in, Syria, and not necessarily us in Syria, but the proxies, and of course Israel's involved as well. But they don't report that things are hostilities are building. But what do we hear? We hear we see the U.S. doing a $15 billion financial transaction with Saudi Arabia again, and then of course there's some kind of $3 to $5 billion energy plan that was introduced when the Saudi jackass went to Russia. So it's all. I just think we're all being played.
Oh, of course. I do, but all that again, all these multi-billion dollars. It's all alchemy. That's all. They know the West is finished. The West is going to go the way because we have been the controls that the controls that controlled the nature of women were removed years ago. So there's no saving the West. They're just recognizing that and saying we don't have to do anything but sit back and just watch while it happens. Because they're being destroyed from within and they'll never ever recover. It's a nature.
Yeah.
And so World War III, I think of all the World War I, World War II, World War II, they were wars of the feminine, wars of alchemy. They were to try to get the world on a fiat monetary system, which is feminine. It was to break and destroy the Ottoman and not the Ottoman. Was it the Ottoman Empire? I guess it was the Empire. Right?
Yeah.
Right? But to destroy the Ottoman Empire, which was the last remnants of a masculine system. They wanted to destroy the Catholic Church. It was already on its way out with Vatican II. The great feminine was to rise and dominate the world as women want to do. So it inevitably leads to its destruction. So China, Russia, and other countries are looking at this and saying, okay, it's obvious to us. We don't really have to do anything to watch. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on a military. It doesn't make sense to spend the kind of money like the United States spends on this. The amount of treasure the amount of productive capacity that we lose simply to maintain this feminine system of ours is it's the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we are a joke. It's shameful, like I said in the beginning of the show. The behavior is absolutely shameful, and it's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment.
That's right. And Russia and the others are just starting now to look and say, look, the United States, England, Germany, the rest of all the European countries now, they become so feminized, they're actually behaving like little girls. If they don't get what they want, they throw a hissy fit. They'll turn around and stab you in the back and call you a friend. It's all the feminists. So they're just like basically saying, well, you don't give a screaming young, a 12-year-old girl, you don't give them any water. Basically send them to the room without any dinner and say, shut the fuck up. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where we are today. I mean, we are a bunch of 12-year-old screaming little girls about everything in the world. I mean, whether we're bitching about Islam and saying, Sharia law and all this stuff. You're living under the Nordheide law, which is even worse than Sharia law. Okay? You're being totally feminized. You don't even know it. You're sitting around complaining. And the people there, if people think that Muslim men are strong and they dominate their women, they don't know anything about Islam. In Islamic cultures, women completely dominate and control men. They don't do it publicly. They're a little smarter about it than Muslims. But they totally control the home. And they control men. Men take a very, very serious oath of slavery to their women cultures.
Right, right.
And the women to go, oh my God, what are they doing? Their perception. And the reason why they don't criticize Muslim, let's say Muslim immigration into Western countries, women of those countries, right? Don't complain about it nearly as much as men, is because they perceive those men to be strong. And that they know at some point the strong men are going to have at it with the weak. They're going to look at all the cuck beta, simp, white knight, blue pill men out there and say, you're completely useless human beings and you need to die. Which, and it's true. Useless men need to be dispatched. That's the nature of women. They see it. They recognize it. Even if they can't vocalize it, they know on an instinctual level that a society of weak men cannot sustain it. And boy, are we a bunch of weakling men.
I just think that it's DNA. I think it's history, and like our DNA holds. That's why they tell us that 80% of our DNA is junk, because they're not going to do the research. They're not going to let anybody. I mean, they're going to do their private research in their breakaway civilizations, and I think that's been done largely. Because, if they make something or they create something that's going to harm people, sure enough, they stay away from it. And, like even Patrick Jordan says, you gotta to make sure that you got a good leash on something before you know. But
of course.
I think that as we go further down the road, economic issues compiled, added to the social strife and all this other divide and conquer type manipulation. It's all the perfect storm. It's really the perfect storm. Again,
all that's feminine, but what's happening today, then, really serious what's happening today, is that more and more men, and this is only the beginning. It's going to be, I believe this is going to be a societal evolution that's going to start overtaking the West over the next 5 years. It isn't going to be 5 or 10% of men now that have recognized that the MGTOW philosophy is the way to govern their lives and how they should proceed in their dealings, in their affairs, where they're no longer in the realm of the alchemy, trying to build or make something from nothing. Start to recognize themselves and realize you have to build something from something. You can only create something. And that philosophy now is going to start taking over. And the system knows this. And I think this is just going to be really fun to watch. It's also a reason why, and I've talked to several people that are involved in the MGTOW movement, the channels like YouTube and stuff. And I can see how the system has already infiltrated. It's created some of the big personalities that are in it that have channels with hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, I don't know exactly how many subscribers. And they're getting huge ratings, right? They put out a video, put out 2 or 3 or 4 videos, sometimes a video a day, and they're getting 20, 30, 40,000 views per video. And the audience out there is growing. It's not shrinking. It's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So if you're the system and and your job is to try and preserve the alchemy, your entire power is based on the feminine and alchemy. You don't want that to go away. You don't want to see the rise of masculinity. So you're going to infiltrate. You're going to do the same tactics that you did with the hippie movement. You're going to create personalities, right? You're going to inject those personalities into the system, and you're going to try and destroy it from within by giving people false information. You're going to basically utilize a Trotskyite philosophy, which again is another form of alchemy. Trotskyism as a tactic is something that's utilized by the neocons. Okay?
Right.
I would say the best example of a Trotskyite that people it's so hard, but it's so blatantly clear, was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a Trotskyite. Ronald Reagan was a socialist. He was basically a communist. But people fell for the whole conservative versus liberal thing. What did he do? It began in the 1960s with Goldwater. They did is they co-opted the word conservative. Right? To conserve is also to control. So it is also to conspire. Right? It is also to constrain. The word liberal is to set free. So what did they do? They demonized the word liberalism. And they began to basically say the basic way to go was to be a conservative. And by late 1970s, the mess that the Carter years, people were looking for a change. Doesn't that sound familiar today, right?
Right.
They look for that change and they bring in the radical. And the radical, who sounds really great, brings in no-fault divorce. He was the first governor to sign no-fault divorce into legislation, which just has destroyed, basically has led to the utter destruction of classes. Because it completely takes all the limitation of it. It allows women to behave as bad as they want with no penalty, and destroys the lives of men. Then in turn destroys your culture and your society.
Yeah.
Okay. So MGTOW has been, if you go onto YouTube and you Google, if you Google MGTOW or go on YouTube, just hit MGTOW, you're going to see lots and lots of channels. But you're also going to see a lot of those people that I believe are plants from within the system that have been put there to try to destroy MGTOW from within. And they do that by interjecting this alchemy, something from nothing, this conservative philosophy, like the Reagan conservatives. It's the Democrats, it's the liberals, the things to distract people away from. No, it's really just pretty basic. It's the original sin. It's the original problem that man has had to endure since day one. It's cats and dogs, man. It's just men and women being different from each other and not understanding their nature and not trying to control them. And so they want to bring the movement down, and they have to destroy it from within. I could see it. God. This guy is obviously, being set up as a Trotskyite. They're either Trotskyites put into the movement, or I don't want to, they have a channel, they've got lots of subs, lots of people following them, lots of people wanting them, and they're out there just promoting this Trotskyite idealism, and the whole thing is just set to blow up in everybody's faces.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think if anybody's going to look into MGTOW, be wary of that. All right? Be wary that this is obviously, if you were the system, wouldn't you take it over? If it poses the biggest threat to your power? Sure. You would interject it and put different personalities and figures there, and you would make sure they had lots of subscribers and followers and that they were getting onto the attention. And
confuse it, derail it.
Exactly. Where it's really just it's a philosophy, not a movement. It doesn't have a leader. It's not supposed to have a leader. It's just people realizing the truth and taking control of their own lives and being better people, being better men, being men, and finally stop being a slave. Free themselves of that bondage, of that slavery, of that servitude of always having to please a woman. And that's, the funny, ironic thing about that is that's what women want. They don't want men voting over them. That's just so weak, right? They want men to be strong and tell them what to do. Because that's where they don't have to go out and produce. The only thing you have to do is, keep a home and raise children. That's not a bad deal. Work's not very much fun.
Kids are the worst, though, sometimes.
They're not as bad as having to put up with office politics.
With a boss, right? And some other woman trying to fucking destroy me.
Meeting deadlines and all that sort of stuff.
She's trying to destroy me. So
just having an easy life with appliances and everything, and being able to do what you want to do, and just because you have to take care of kids and actually raise kids to be decent human beings, that's quite honorable. I don't see the problem. But, I'm the patriarchy. Oh my God, you're chauvinist pig, you patriarch bastard.
That's how I'm going to announce you from now on. Patriarch Greg.
That patriarch.
Let's try to derail you. Patriarch Greg. He says all these awful things. Don't listen. No. Somebody will attack you soon.
Oh yeah. I don't care. That's part of the big. I will wear the badge with honor.
There you go. You got to do it, man. You got to do it, because if you let people, if you let people's opinions and their ideas of what normal is, then then people will never, will never achieve, never progress. I'm willing to have conversations, arguments and conversations, but like most of the time when. I I have people ask me, "Oh yeah, well we should do a podcast." People that I work with, or one or two people, "Well, we should do a podcast," and then blah blah blah. And I'm just thinking, and then he never goes through with it. He'll never go through with it because he'll be wrong. Because I'll get, I'll get people like you on and Clint, and we'll do a round table, and then he will bring his ridiculousness, his 20-something ridiculousness to the table, and you guys will just be like, listen, man, that's just, if you believe that, and you really need to fucking rethink things, bruh.
Hey, these young guys that are still feminized, I mean, what do? They seek flattering titles. Just like the feminine, they seek the flattering titles.
This guy's kind of MGTOW. He'd rather play fantasy football and watch football and do all this other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that he just rather do than join society in certain senses. But
I think it's something that all, as men, that we should be encouraging all young men to do, and every man, is to say, have you looked into the MGTOW thing? Just Google or go onto YouTube and start watching some of the videos. Reserve judgment. Just listen to what some men are saying and hear how the lives of men have been destroyed and are continuing to be destroyed, and how this has affected your father, your brother, your uncles.
You know what you hear. Well, that wouldn't be me. I wouldn't allow that to happen. Those types.
You can only plant seeds, and to really understand thyself, to fix things, solve the problems. Is we as men we have to get ourselves right. That's the first thing to do. Is
reset. It's sort of a reset.
Yeah, we have to reset ourselves.
Right.
We have to reset our manlyhood.
The economic reset. We
cannot stop or prevent our daughters from becoming a horse and defiled by the sperm of 100 men. On average today, how much? It is so horrible that the average, like these 25-year-old women that have done surveys on them, and many of them have had more than 50 sex partners. Is it you wonder that they are just an emotional basket case, that they become hysterical?
There's that.
Justice warriors.
There is that, and there is also
Hillary Clinton supporters.
Right. So the chemicals, the lipsticks with the lead and the other things. So that just exacerbates an already logical shit.
That's part of it. But listen, it even says in the Bible, a woman is not to be defiled. She takes on the semen of too many men, that the DNA of all those men prevents her from being able to pair. And she becomes her own. She cannot pair bond with the man if she possesses the DNA of multiple men. So she can't have balanced relationships, loving relationships. And that's something that it drives them crazy. And then they start to crash out.
The bastard child of 1,000 maniacs. We'll have Freddy Krueger's running around.
Right. Well, isn't that, art imitates life, right? So
yeah, exactly.
It was in our face, like, listen, you horse, stop being horse, and you won't have so many Freddy Kruegers in the world.
And men have to stop being horse too.
Men have to stop. Yeah, men have to stop. We have to figure. It's not for women. We have to. As soon as we can find ourselves,
in less than a minute,
we will stop raising. Then our daughters will stop being whores. And when our daughters stop being whores, then our society will move forward.
I'm going to start a movement to shut down all universities, all so-called institutions of higher learning, because they're not doing anything but weaponizing.
Oh wow, we're done with
system of systems. I will MK Ultra ya. Put the MK scope on ya. If the MK hits you, it's guaranteed to open ya. The 57mm Mark 110, 220 rounds a minute, try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list, that's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum, some perform shock and awe on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran that's enriched, that's a bitch. Now we gotta teach them